Welcome to The Explainer. We're diving into a really powerful idea today, one that's kind of flipping the script on what we think of as business. We're talking about social entrepreneurship.
And it really all boils down to this one central question, right? Can a business actually solve society's biggest problems? I mean, can you take all that drive, all that innovation that we see in the business world, and point it towards something more, something with a deeper purpose? Can you actually build a company that's designed from the ground up to tackle huge issues?
Okay, so to really get our heads around that, we've got to make sure we're all speaking the same language. So let's break down who the key players are in this whole movement. All right, first up, you've got the idea of social entrepreneurship itself. And this is key. It's not a person, it's not a company, it's the process. Think about it like this. It's about taking all those sharp business tools we know work, spotting opportunities, innovating, managing resources, but instead of just chasing profit, you're aiming them squarely at a social need. The goal is to create real, sustainable social value.
Then, of course, you have the person at the center of it all, the social entrepreneur. This is your innovator, your visionary, your risk taker, right? This is the person who looks at a problem in society and doesn't just see a problem, they see an opportunity to build something, a whole venture from scratch that's designed to deliver real, tangible social value.
And what do they build? Well, that's the social enterprise. This is the actual organization, the vehicle for all that change. And what's really interesting here is that it can look like a lot of different things. It could be a for-profit company, a nonprofit, or even some kind of hybrid. The legal structure isn't the most important part. What really matters, is that its core reason for existing is to create and sustain social value.
Okay, so we've got the process, the person, and the organization. We've got the definitions down, but what is this mission? What does it actually look like in the real world?
Well, for one thing, they have to wear a lot of hats. It's a really multifaceted role. Just look at this. It's about tackling problems, sure, but with these innovative business approaches. It's also about mobilizing communities, getting people on board, and building relationships that can lead to real, lasting social transformation.
In this quote, this really gets to the absolute heart of it all. The goal is to maintain the achievement of the social mission at or above the level of financial success. Think about that. Yes, you have to be financially stable to survive, that's a given. But your North Star, your ultimate guide for every single decision, is that social mission. Success here isn't just about the bottom line. It's measured by your impact first, then by your profit.
So the big question is, how? How do you actually build a business that can do both of these things at once? It's a serious balancing act. And you can't just take a regular company and, slap a social mission on top. It doesn't work that way. You need a totally different kind of blueprint, one that's designed for this dual purpose from day one.
Yeah, your typical business model just isn't cut out for this. It's not in their DNA. So a social enterprise needs its own special kind of framework, one that literally weaves that social mission into the core of the business. The idea is to make sure that creating value for the community and being financially sustainable aren't two separate goals. They're completely intertwined, right from the very beginning.
And this is it. This is that blueprint. It's called the Social Business Model Canvas. Now, I know it looks like a lot at first glance, maybe a little intimidating, but you don't need to read every single box. The real genius here isn't in the details, it's in the overall structure. And we're about to see why.
See, what this canvas does so brilliantly is it splits the whole plan into two core layers. On one side, you have the social value layer. This is all about the mission. What's the problem we're trying to solve? Who are we helping? What good are we offering? Then, on the other side, you have the economic value layer. This is the business engine. Who are our partners? What resources do we need? And crucially, how are we going to make money to keep the whole thing running?
And what's so cool is that this way of thinking, this blueprint, it doesn't just operate in a bubble. It's not just for small one-off projects. When you start to zoom out, you realize that all these individual social enterprises, they're all plugging into a much, much bigger global picture.
And this right here shows that connection perfectly. On the one hand, you have the local actions of a social entrepreneur, the community work, the problem solving on the ground. But that work doesn't exist in a vacuum. It plugs directly into this bigger framework, the UN Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. So suddenly, that local work is part of a global fight against massive challenges like poverty, inequality, and climate change.
You can think of these SDGs as a kind of global roadmap for a better world. And for social entrepreneurs everywhere, this framework is incredibly useful. It helps them guide their missions, sure, but it also gives them a way to measure their impact. It lets them say, hey, look, the work we're doing in our community is directly contributing to solving this massive global problem.
Okay, so we've looked at the people, the process, the blueprint, and even the global connection. So what's the big takeaway from all this? What should we really remember?
Well, it really comes down to a few key things. First, this isn't some small niche idea anymore. It's a huge opportunity for growth and a major driver of economic development. Second, it's proof that business can be an incredible force for good. But the third point is the most important one, I think. It only works if you build it right. You absolutely have to have a business model that integrates that social mission and the economic engine right from the start. They have to be two sides of the same coin.
So, let's leave you with a final thought to chew on. The world is full of problems, big and small, just waiting for a new idea, a new approach. So, if you were going to start your own social enterprise, what's the one problem you'd be most passionate about solving?